All right, welcome. I am Brian Gomez. I'm the Vice President of Operations for Past Perfect Software. Today's webinar, we're going to be talking about using grouping in your reports. Our sample today will be a sample in the contacts area of our software, but the principles apply the same everywhere. Before we start, I'd like to get to know a little bit more about you and your experience with Past Perfect. So if you can answer this poll for me, I would appreciate it. So our goal today is to create membership reports for the upcoming board meeting. The board, one of their talking points is going to be whether our membership types are working for us and how we can go about maybe having our members renew at higher levels. That's the overall big picture we're going for. And to do that, I'm going to start from Report Maker. Now, right off the bat, I'm going to tell you, this is not where you want to start. If you have a need for a report, you first want to try to get that report through the pre-made reports. I'm going to start from the Report Maker because that's what we're here for in class. So the first thing I need to do is figure out which database am I going to be writing this report in. The database that has the most specific information is where I want to start. So in this case, I'm looking at dues payments, not membership types, because I'm going to be looking back through history, and a contact can only have one membership type, so their current membership type might be important to me, but what membership type they had last year and the year before are more important to me. So for that reason, the more specific report is going to be the dues report. So I'm going to click on dues and then go up to Create New Report. For this report, I'm going to name it 2012 dues. And if you'll notice, the title as printed on the report will show up there the same. I'm going to leave most of this blank and kind of breeze through. So hitting Next, it's now asking for a filter statement. So the thing that makes my dues paid last year is that they are greater than 12/31/2011, add to statement, and they are less than 01/01/2013. Add to statement. Now, because that's an AND statement, it means that both things have to be true. If I messed up and I put an OR statement in here, my report's going to be super huge. It's going to have everybody that's ever paid dues to my organization. All right? So I've got my filter in. That's going to get the right people. Click on Next. What fields do I want on this report? So I'm going to go with, I want the amount, I want the membership name. I know that the board is looking at membership type, so I'm going to take the membership type. And just for good measure, to make sure I've got the right records on the report, I'm going to pick date. Now, for those who have seen these stars here, that means that this information would come out of the contacts database. I'm not going to do it on this report, but let's say, for instance, you wanted to have somebody's spouse's name on this report. You could have spouse being pulled from the contacts database. Again, outside the scope of what we're doing here, I'm going to click on Next. It's asking me, what do I want to sort by? Well, I know membership type is going to be pretty important to me, so I'm going to sort by membership type. And second, I'm going to sort by date. All right. So then I'm going to click on Next again. It's automatically making choices for me on how the report's going to look on paper. Past Perfect looks at the number of fields that you've selected, the length of those fields, and decides whether it should be portrait or landscape, if it should be column or form layout. All of that stuff is, you can override it, but we try to make the tough decision easy. So I'm going to click on OK, and then preview my report. So here's my report. Not overly pretty. This is demo data, so we don't have a whole lot of dues payments in here for 2012. But you can see my membership type starts with benefactor and works its way down through my Cs. And you could count all these up and figure out how much came in, and you could take your calculator and add all of that up. But wouldn't it be nice if Past Perfect or the Report Maker could do that for you? So the next thing I'm going to do is add a summary band that does that math for me. So I'm going to exit from here, modify the report layout here, Once I modify the report layout, I want to go up to Report, and where I have this choice of optional bands, if I click on that, I can select the summary band. All right? I'm going to click on OK, and you're going to see a new band opens up in my Report Designer screen. Okay? I'm going to stretch it out just a little bit so everybody can clearly see it. Now, there's a gray bar. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it, but there's a gray bar behind this. We have this gray bar set in there to alternate. It comes in by default. I'm not a big fan of it, so I'm going to take it away. So I just clicked on it. It was highlighted, and then I hit my delete key on my keyboard to get rid of it. It'll also make it easier for me to copy and paste things. So in my summary, I want to know two things: how much money came in and how many membership payments came in. So I'm going to take the amount. I'm going to do Control-C, Control-V. That's copy and paste for those who are not Windows keyboard shortcut people. Control-C and Control-V, and that gave me my two fields for amount. And I just expanded it a little bit and then drug it down into the summary band. All right, I'm going to do the same thing for type. Control-C, Control-V to copy and paste, and then drag it down into my summary band. All right? So just so we can see these a little bit easier on our screens, I'm going to go ahead and make them red. And also, I think I'll make their format font. I'll make them bold and a little bit bigger. All right. So they're a little bit larger, and they're in red. So when we see this on the report, hopefully we'll be able to notice them. All right. So I need to do a little bit more. Just moving the field down to the summary won't be enough. For type, I want it to count up the number of memberships that I have. So what it's going to do here is it's going, if I double-click on it and then click on Calculations, and when I do that, I have a number of calculate options here. One of them is count. So if I put my dot in count and then click on OK and OK again, we should see a count of the types. And since every record has a type, we will since every record has a type, it will count up the number of dues payments for this type. The second piece is the amount. We want it to calculate, but we don't want it to count. We want it to do a sum. So the same thing. I double-click on it, click on Calculations, and then click on Sum. Once I click on OK here, and OK again, I think I'm done with this summary. Now, for some of you, it might feel like I'm going really, really fast. I am going a little bit fast on purpose here. So this recording will be available for you later on to go back and review. I finished moving the summary around. I'm going to go ahead and click on Save and then Close. And then I'm going to preview again. And here you go. Down at the bottom of my report, I now have a 14 for the number of records and $980. So that's kind of cool. Gives me the number of payments we received and the amount, but it would be nice if it was formatted. So let's go back in and format it. So one of the things with numeric formatting, I modify the report layout. Once I'm in the Modify Report Layout, I'm going to double-click on my amount field. One of the things about Foxborough formatting is you can sort of give it a sample of what you're looking for. So let's do 999, comma, 999, dot, 99. And that will be sort of give Foxborough the, hey, I'm looking for commas and I'm looking for dollar signs. And when I click on OK on that, I'm going to do the same thing with amount. 999. 999.99. Okay. Once I do that, the next time I go, I'm going to exit out of here and save. Preview it again. and you'll see the $ pops up. All right, so that shows you how you can format things like these numbers. Now, obviously, I didn't do the same thing with 14 because it's a count. Now, I could have put count as a title here, like membership name is up here. I could have put type or account down here at the bottom. I'm just kind of taking some shortcuts here to go fast. The summary, you may have noticed it said that it was to reset at the end of the report, and I'll talk more about that when we go into grouping. So for a really small organization that has very, very few dues payments, this report might be enough. You can say I have 1 benefactor, 2 corporate, 3 couples, 3 individuals, a patron, 2 seniors, and 2 sustaining. But for most of you, that's not enough. You want to be able to see which or how much came in from each one of these levels, as well as how many at that level do you currently have. Or in this case, in 2012, did you have? So I'm going to exit from here, go to Modify Report Layout, and now we're going to talk about grouping. If I go to Report, I have an option for data grouping. This data grouping option allows me to pick what do I want to group by. And in my case, I know the field name is type. I want to group by type. These 3 little dots are not going to help you. Please don't use them. You need to know the field name that you're modifying or that you're grouping by. And if you don't know what it is, you just move this down a little bit and you'll see type right below there. So I want to group by type. That's going to put all of my types together. All right. Some of these other options are going to allow you to change how it would appear. If you wanted different types on different pages, you could deal with that. It's outside of what we're trying to do. Know that these options might be available if there's something kind of different that you're trying to do. So I'm going to click on OK here. I am now grouped by type. And watch what happens. Boop. So now, before where we just had a detail band, we now have a group header and a group footer. I'm going to expand those out a little bit by clicking and dragging. So before this group begins, there'll be a space, and I'm going to draw a line in there. And then after that group, there'll be a space, and I'm going to draw another line in there. And just to make sure you can tell the difference, I'm going to draw a square in the middle of it. All right. I'm going to do File, Close, Save Changes, Yes, and Preview. All right. Pretty ugly, but I think it shows what we're looking for here. It's now separated out benefactor from corporate, from couple, from individual. Okay, it's creating a new group every time it finds a new membership type. Might not be much better, really, when you think about it, because we don't have any additional information here. How can we put in additional information? Well, this is going to work the same way that the summary worked, with one exception. So let's close back out. I'm going to click on Modify Report Layout again. I'm going to expand that group footer down. I'm going to take away this line and box so that it's out of the way. And I'm going to do Amount, Control-C, and then Control-V and move it into place. And I'm going to take this type, Control-C and Control-V, and move it into place, just like before. This time, I'm going to choose a different color so that we don't confuse them with our red ones, and also change their font. So bear with me for a second. Bold italic, OK. Format, font. Bold italic, OK. And we'll make them, let's see if we get a dark green. So to make a text turn color, you have to select this little T text box deal, and then hit the color that you choose. And I'll try to take this green here. All right. So I've got these fields down the same way I did last time. I need to tell it what calculation to do. So I'm going to double-click on Amount. You notice the formatting came with it, because I copied the field above it. and then I click on Calculations, and I want it to do a sum. Notice here it says Reset at the Group 1 type. That's important. We want it to reset each time we leave the group. Otherwise, it would be a running total. So if I had it at end of report, it would be a running total. Instead, I want it to reset at the end of group. So after it's added the sustainings together, next it will add whoever, the benefactors or whatever. All right, so I'm going to click on OK, and then OK again, and type Calculations, Count, Reset at the group. Click on OK, and OK again. All right, so now we've got our report to where we have a group footer that has some summary information in it, and a group header, which just has a line in it. And we're still going to see each one of the payments showing up in the middle. So I'm going to do File, Close, Save Changes, Yes, and then Preview again. So we have $200 total from one benefactor, $150 total from 2 corporate members, $120 total from 3 couple members, $60 total from 3 individual members. Notice this 0 here, that's probably a complimentary dues payment. All right, so that's pretty good. Now there's a few other things I want to do to snazz this thing up, and especially since my board doesn't really care about names on this list, they really just want the summary information. So to give them just the summary information, I'm going to take out all of this middle data, this $75 stuff. So let's watch what I do here. So if I close out, click on Modify Report Layout. Now, before I go crazy here and take these things away, I want to reuse them. So I'm going to take Type and drag it outside of that detail band and put it down here in the footer band. All right. I don't really need my titles up here any longer, so I'm going to get rid of these titles and the formatting that kind of goes with them. All right. This page header will just have a little line in it. It's good there. I'm going to get rid of this again is in the detail band. So this is going to be each person's payment, each person's name, and each person's date. So now I'm going to shrink that down to get rid of this empty space. And I'm only going to have footer information for each group. That's the amount that came in for that type, the actual type itself, and a count of the type. That's the plan anyway. I hope it works out. So File, Close, Save Changes, Yes, and let's do a preview. There we go. We have a summary information now to the dues payments that came in 2012, each of the payments, and listing the payments and then how much total revenue came in from those payments. Now I could spend a little more time here, put the word count at the top, over top of the 1, 2, 3, 3, etc. I could put total from this type over here. I could do some more with spacing in my lines to make it prettier. But all of that's just time and making it look pretty. If you're unclear on how to use those report tools, please attend that reports class. There's lots of great stuff to learn there. All right, so that's great. We've got this 2012 dues report that we just worked for the last 20 minutes on. I don't want to have to spend 20 minutes on the next 3 reports to get 2011, 2010, and 2009. What can I do? So I'm going to close out from the report designer and exit all the way back out to the report screen. It's asking me, do I want to save it? I'm going to say yes. And you'll see under my dues, I now have a 2012 dues report. Now, pretend with me that I did take the time to make that thing super pretty, because you definitely want to put in all that hard work on the first one, because what you're going to do is you're going to copy this thing multiple times. So I'm just going to show you 2011 in this webinar, but the same would go if you were trying to do 2010. So I'm going to click on Copy, and here it comes. It gives me my report name, 2012 dues copy, but this is going to be 2011. So I'm going to get rid of the word copy there too. And this is going to be 2011 dues. Then click on Next. You'll see my filter statements has the wrong information in here. You have two choices here. The safest thing to do would be to delete these lines of the filter statement and start again by selecting the field and selecting the dates. The other thing you can do is you can view or modify filter syntax. And if you understand this stuff, you can just go in here and modify your dates. So this would be 0, and this would be 2. That would get us everything in between 2010 and the first, I'm sorry, that would be 2, not a 1. Get us everything between the last day of 2010 and the first day of 2012. Click on Save, and then Exit. Go to Next. You'll see my fields are already selected for me. Next again, my order is selected for me. Click on Next again. And if I click on Preview, 13 records are selected this time because of my new filter statement. And I still have one minor tweak to do on this form to say 2011, and that would be under my Modify statement. So let me just go do that real quick. Modify Report Layout. Click on the A button, and then change this to 2011 dues. And then Preview. All right, so there's my 2011 dues report. Now, I do like that it has this filter in here so that if my board says, wait a minute, what is this? This title isn't very specific. They can still see the filter statement. They may not understand it. They might understand it, but at least I know it's there. I can go back and say, yeah, this report was run on 1/24/2013, and it looked at all of the dues payments between these two dates, and this is the summary for it. All right. So lining these two pieces of paper up side by side, you can start to see a trend. Did we have more benefactors last year than we have this year? Did we have less? Okay. And then again, you could run it for, or do the same copy and paste deal to create a 2010 dues and a 2009 dues. All right. That's generally the gist of what I was trying to get to you today, which is putting out a report that allows you to group data by certain criteria. I'm happy to answer a few questions here. I won't be able to get to all of them. I apologize for that. If you have questions, you want to put them into the question board, I'll try to address them as I can. If you'd rather just either call in for technical support, any one of the staff here can help you. Otherwise, hang out, wait for me, or send me an email, and I'll get back to you probably middle of next week. If you're not signed up for that reports webinar training class at the end of next month and you want to get a seat, get your seat now. They are filling fast. There were 14 when I started this webinar left. I think it's down to 12 seats now. So if you need to get more training, especially more basic training, you want to come to that class. All right. Thanks, Karen, for coming and for the good feedback, and also you, Michelle. Thanks. Kristen asked, can I do the same thing with objects? Absolutely. The same principles apply. If you wanted to, instead of doing it grouping by type, you wanted to group by storage location, you absolutely could do the same report in Report Maker using objects and group by storage location. So you'd have everything that's stored in the same place. Oh, before anyone leaves, I have one more thing to tell you. I told you not to do what I do because you probably didn't need to do all this hard work, and that's true for this report. This report you actually could have gotten if you'd have gone to Contacts, I believe, or Dues and Donations, and then there's a Dues and Donations Summary report here. So you can actually get the same information with a little bit different of a format, but you get the same information without having to generate your own Report Maker report. So you always want to start by going in and looking at the reports that Past Perfect has already created for you before you take the time to create your own.